Luke, the beloved physician who wrote for the world. In the bustling cities of the Roman Empire, where merchants traded goods, philosophers debated ideas, and weary travelers sought rest, there was a man who walked among them, not as a warrior or ruler, but as a doctor, historian, and devoted follower of Christ. His name was Luke, and though he never walked with Jesus during his earthly ministry, he would become one of the greatest storytellers of the gospel, the man who would write more of the New Testament than even Paul himself. Who was Luke? Luke is first mentioned in Colossians 4 verse 14, where Paul refers to him as the beloved physician. From this, we know that Luke was a doctor. He was trained in medicine, which means he was likely well-educated and skilled in healing. A Gentile, unlike the Jewish apostles, Luke was likely Greek, making him one of the only non-Jewish authors of Scripture. A companion of Paul, he traveled with the apostle on his missionary journeys, documenting the spread of Christianity. Though Luke never met Jesus in person, he would dedicate his life to ensuring that the story of Christ was preserved with accuracy, detail, and beauty. The Gospel of Luke, a story for the outsider. Luke wrote the Gospel of Luke, a carefully researched account of Jesus' life, death, and resurrection. Unlike Matthew, who wrote primarily for the Jews, Luke wrote for the Gentile world, for people who were once outsiders to the promises of God. Luke's Gospel is the longest book in the New Testament, and it is filled with stories of Jesus' compassion for the outcast. The parable of the Good Samaritan, Luke 10 verses 25 to 37. The prodigal son, Luke 15 verses 11 to 32. Jesus' love for sinners, tax collectors, and women, people whom society often rejected. Luke wanted the world to know the gospel was not just for the Jews but for everyone. The book of Acts, the birth of the church. Luke did not stop with just one book. He wrote a sequel, the book of Acts, which tells the story of how Christianity spread from Jerusalem to Rome. If you combine Luke and Acts, they make up over 25% of the New Testament, meaning Luke contributed more to Scripture than even Paul. Luke's writing gives us the only detailed account of Pentecost, Paul's missionary journeys, and the early church. Without him, we would not have a full picture of how the gospel spread across the Roman world. Luke's journey with Paul. Luke was not just a historian, he was a man who lived the gospel. He traveled with Paul on dangerous missionary journeys, facing persecution, shipwrecks, and trials. In 2 Timothy 4 verse 11, during Paul's final imprisonment in Rome, he writes, "Only Luke is with me." When others abandoned Paul, Luke stayed. He remained loyal to the end, proving that he was not just a storyteller of faith, but a true disciple of Christ. Luke's legacy. Though we do not know how Luke's life ended, church tradition suggests he continued to spread the gospel until his death. Some say he was martyred, while others believe he died peacefully. Regardless, his legacy remains immortalized in the pages of Scripture. He was a doctor who healed bodies but also sought to heal souls, a historian who carefully recorded truth for future generations, a faithful companion who stood firm in times of trial. His writings have brought millions to Christ over the centuries, and they continue to do so today. Luke's story is a reminder that even those who never saw Jesus face to face can still know him deeply and share his truth with the world.